Hello and welcome to another 4-minute history video. Today's video is on the transatlantic slave trade. Of all the 4-minute history videos, this is perhaps one of the most unpalatable ones to make, for it briefly addresses the issue of slavery. This is obviously a huge topic and cannot be covered in depth here, and slavery has gone on for the majority of human history. For this reason, this video will just focus on the transatlantic slave trade. This went on between the 16th to 19th centuries and saw the forced transportation of an estimated 12 million Africans, mainly from Western and Central Africa. There had been slavery in Africa before the Atlantic slave trade, but it developed on such a massive scale after the discovery of the Americas by Europeans. In these new territories in South, North and Central America and the Caribbean, cheap labour was needed to undertake the arduous work on the plantations created by European settlers. Let us begin with what has been termed the First Atlantic System. This was conducted primarily by Portuguese traders who moved slaves across to South America from Western Africa in the 16th and 17th centuries. Brazil received the largest numbers. The Second Atlantic System was conducted more by the British, French and Dutch, as they began to gain dominance in the seas and over world trade throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. The geographical focus shifted from South America to the Caribbean and North America, and the trade became more privatized as opposed to more centralized dealings in previous centuries. To better understand the system of the Atlantic slave trade, we should look at the triangular trade system. Goods were taken from Europe to Africa, such as weapons, like muskets and ammunitions. Alcohol was also taken, along with textiles and various other things made in European factories. Then from Africa, slaves were taken to the Americas for forced labor. And from the Americas, the produced goods such as sugar, tobacco, rum, rubber, and cotton were exported to Europe. A great deal of profit was made along this route, but those to suffer were the slaves who were forcibly taken from their homes. It has been estimated that around 1 million lives were lost on the transatlantic voyage, undertaken in atrocious conditions, and many more millions died upon arrival in the New World, not to mention the many who died during the slave raids and forced marches to the ports in Africa. Communities in Africa were devastated by the slave trade through depopulation, loss of culture, and the introduction of armaments that made conflicts deadlier. A legacy of global racism was also enhanced by the slave trade, a legacy that continues to this day. Some people have mentioned how it was the Africans themselves who captured the slaves and sold them to European traders, insinuating that the guilt should not be entirely upon the nations that benefited from the practice. However, this ignores the fact that the demand for slaves and goods offered by manipulative European traders transformed the West African economy, meaning that the riches offered by this practice were unrelenting, and it was inevitable that warring tribes would resort to slavery. Others also mention that local economies in Africa benefited from slavery, but most studies show significant stagnation in African economies during this period. In Great Britain, slavery was abolished in 1807, and in the United States the importation was prohibited in the same year. However, the slave trade continued across the Atlantic illegally into the 19th century, but not at the numbers seen before. Thus, around this time ended a trade that enriched and developed nations and impoverished the states of Western and Central Africa, resulting in consequences seen to this day. Thank you for watching this 4-minute history on the transatlantic slave trade, and please look in the description below for books and movies you should check out for a more detailed and nuanced look at this shameful episode in human history. If you found that interesting, you may be interested in other 4-minute histories with various titles spanning most of human history. And finally, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.